So let's take a listen from the first breakdown so you can get a feel for the track. So one of the basic cool elements about this track is the kick groove. It's pretty simple. It's a main kick, a rumble that was made from that kick, and then another kind of distorted, ugly kick drum that's mixed in. So let's listen to this kick by itself. This is from an OBI pack from the Definition of Hard Techno. Okay. Pretty basic. I don't even think I did anything to this kick. It just sounds good. For the stock layer. Yep, I didn't even EQ it. What I have is a little bit of delay going to it. Here, we listen to it. That's with it. And that's without. Just adds a little excitement to the outside ears. And I had bounced the rumble to audio, but I still have the other parts to this, so I'll show you how I did that. I did it with Valhalla Room and Shaperbox. In Reason, you can create parallel channels. You just right-click on the channel, create parallel channel. It basically duplicates just the mix channel, so you don't have to duplicate all the instances of the rack. So let's take this stuff off. Okay, it's basically the same thing. So it's the same thing minus the delay. Then I came down here, I added a reverb from Valhalla. It's also going to sound like shit for a minute while we're doing this. Then I added a Shaperbox, a sidechain effect, cutting off that first every quarter note, cutting off the attack from the kick. So now you just have this big reverb with the kick on it. I also flipped the phase. I flipped the phase. I just liked the characteristic of the way it sat with the kick drum when I was playing around with it. It's the same kick, so I shouldn't really have any phase issues, but I often do this, just sometimes gives it a different characteristic. Oftentimes I'll flip the phase if I'm putting in a top layer, because you can have some phase mismatches and some frequencies clashing, and sometimes flipping the phase is enough to just bring it out more and have it sit better and slightly different than how it was before with the kick, so it's always something to play with. So in this case, it wasn't really causing problems. Actually, I think it gives me more low end if I don't have the phase reversed, but I liked the way it sounded. So then at this point, I just bounced that to audio. I then grab two of the best clips and loop them. And then at that point, it's this. And this is where I would do the low pass. See? It's basically the same thing I just did here, just in audio form. So let's hear that with the kick now that it's low passed. Without the rumble. With the rumble. The next sound is more of a gritty, punchy kick drum that I layered in. That's one of the stock sounds from Reason. I use this rhythmic drum machine and this old school kind of drum sequencer thing that Reason has. It's actually a new player, but it's designed like an old drum machine, which I like it. So let's hear that on its own. This is basically that punchy kick mixed with some percussion elements. I'll mute the kick so you can hear the other stuff going on. Okay. So now let's put that in with the kick drums. The other thing I'm doing with this percussion loop is I have this automated from different patterns here, because there's different tom rolls that happen up. See, in these lanes here, it changes throughout here. It's basically, I have that one muted. It's basically just the clap and the one tom that changes. And I have that automated down here in a lane. Where is it? Just right here. 1, 2, 3. I'm just bouncing between them just to add variation within the drum pattern. Some other percussion elements I bring later on is just a 909 clap. Which I love this plugin. It's modeled just after simple model after a 909, and it works, sounds good. I use it all the time. So the other main part about this track is these two lead or these glitchy effect stab sounds. Let's listen to this on its own. I filter this in at the first drop, so let me loop this over here. So that song, main thing I'm doing is I have this 3/16 delay on that I put on into an echo effect that is a stock Reason delay. There it is without it. There it is with it. So we'll take it off for now so we can hear it in its pure form. This is not my sound, but we'll dissect it so we can learn a little bit about what's going on. Take all the effects off. You can hear it in all its glory. So that's without the effects. The other thing it's doing is if it has LFO1, it's only this noise oscillator. It's only one oscillator, and it has the LFO controlling the amplitude and the level. So these little square loops are in here, and it's on a high rate. It has a macro then. Has the macro assigned to this rate knob, which I have turned up. So it's turning it up and down super fast. It's like every time that LFO hits. So you'll hear. See, because that's changing the rate that this LFO is doing that. That's no effect. You're almost creating like a super fast telephone buzzing sound. Almost like a dial-up. Here it is. So if we go back in, it's just layered some distortion, a filter, chorus effect, this compressor. The compressor, they actually have the level on the compressor assigned to this same LFO, so it's affecting the gain in the same way, just boosting it up. It's affecting the gain the same way as it is the level of the oscillator, of the noise oscillator. We got a little EQ filter, some reverb, and a little stereo expander. I have these just couple little notes bouncing off each other. Super simple. Now that's mixed with this tech stab, and this is a sound that I designed. Let's open that one up a bit. This one is 2 oscillators. Let's take off the effects first so you can hear it in its raw form. It's just a little beep, basically. It's 2 oscillators. It's the noise and then oscillator A. That's the noise, and then this is the fundamental. Just this beep. Those two together. And I'm using envelope 2. You can drag these up and assign them to these different knobs here. And I assigned it to the level. So oscillator 2 is controlling the whole amplitude of the sound. The attack, hold, decay, sustain, and release is just on oscillator 2, and you can see it's just a real quick peak and a stop. Then I came over, added some distortion, chorus, some delay. some verb. It's a super, like, you know, it's basic sound, but added in with that one. On their own, they don't sound impressive, but it adds to the groove and creates the vibe for the track. So that is the gist of this track. The other thing is the breakdown, which I have this Reese creepy kind of lead coming in here. It's basically a digital brass sound that I have run through some tube saturation. Again, I did not design this sound myself. It's from a test press pack, which I actually love their preset packs. You can get them on Splice. And that just comes into this middle section and helps with the build. And I do some filtering on it. I am constantly adjusting my low pass and high pass filters. A lot of times instead of level, I will just low pass it and then rise it in. So that's what I'm doing here. I have an automation lane right here, just rising it in and out. You'll hear the highs come out as this goes up. So that's basically inside my track nails. You can check it out on any of the platforms. I'll put a link to it below. Thanks for watching. I hope you got a couple ideas out of this.